Audio test, audio, 1, 2 test, audio. Sorry about that, folks. My stream just cut out there. I don't know what happened. Can you guys hear me? I want everybody to join back if you can. Working now, good. Now that's a new thing because someone said they could not, it was not working earlier. So I just wanted to make sure. I don't know what happened there. I can hear you now. Good. All right. So there was an issue earlier with the stream, apparently. So everybody, join back. Join back. I'm so sorry about that. I do not know what happened. Last night it did the same thing where my internet just went out just without warning, and I lost connection with everything. So probably that's what happened again. Our internet provider seems to have had some issues the last 24 hours. So, all right, let's resume our discussion. So if you want to finish the story or start the story up, go watch my first live stream, and then you'll see where I cut off, and then we will continue from here. So I'm not going to do the whole discussion all over again. It'll just be a waste of time. So here's a look at the deep layer vertical wind shear out there in the Caribbean as well as the main development region, and it is pretty unfavorable right now. So the deep layer vertical wind shear has definitely increased back over this region out of the west, anywhere between about, we're on the order of about 35 to 45 knots, which is pretty strong. And that's strong enough to bring unfavorable upper level winds across the Caribbean and the main development region. While over here across Florida, the deep layer vertical wind shear has been quite low over the last 24 hours, on the order of about 5 to 15 knots as a whole. So yeah, that just means that any development, if it did occur here, upper level winds would be quite favorable for development with very warm sea surface temperatures. But fortunately, the background state is just not there for any development. All right, so let's take a look now at our global computer models, because everybody's wondering when the tropics are going to wake up. And so looking at the model here, let me change my mouse color here to black. There we go. So we can see this is as of the 0Z out or 18Z output this afternoon. And we can see here is that upper level or surface ridge that is in place over much of the subtropical region of the Atlantic. And this is where the warmest water actually is in the Atlantic at this time, because of a lot of ridging that has persisted in this area of the Atlantic so far this season. We have good trade winds blowing across this area, not super strong, not super weak, just slightly below average for this time of the year. And then this is where we have a little bit of that vorticity that we saw on the vorticity plot, but please keep in mind that there's a lot of dry air over this region. It's pretty stable. I do not see anything developing anytime soon right now. And so as we put this into motion, here's a good little tropical wave. We'll see what that does, but it doesn't look like it's going to last very long. It is going to hopefully bring in some rain down here in Trinidad and Tobago. You guys do need more water down there for your water supply, because you've had a lack of heavy rainfall lately. And so it's going to be nice to see a little bit of a tropical wave moving through that area. But notice where our tropical waves are. They're way down here. They're not way up here, or in other words, they're not like up here where they try to develop and they try to come off like that. This has been a very suppressive signal with the intertropical convergence zone way down here. This is much further south than it should be for this time of the year, okay? I mean, this is about the time last year we were thinking that the intertropical convergence zone was really moving north quickly. We will see if that actually happens this season, if it actually makes up for the lackness of where it has been. So, because this is going to really be important in terms of where these tropical waves or where these circulations come off of and what they end up moving into, right? This is indeed unfavorable configuration with the ITF. So as we go forward here on the GFS model, There is just nothing out there at all over the next 2 weeks. Nothing that I have concerned about, but now out there in the MDR, but over here in the Gulf, let's go to this. There is definitely an area of disturbed weather in the lower parts of the atmosphere that we will need to monitor in the next 7 days. All right. The NHC hasn't been talking about this yet, at least in their, let's take a look. Yeah, there is nothing that they're watching right now, as we can see, over the next 7 days in this basin. But there is a signal here that there a little piece of that energy off that cold front is going to retrograde and then try to get its act together a little bit. If it doesn't develop into anything, there's going to be a lot of rain and a lot of thunderstorms up here in the northern Gulf and the deep south here of Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, bringing a lot of flood potential. You know what happened in Kerrville, Texas recently, right? It only took a group of thunderstorms persisting over the same area for a long time, and guess what you had? You had a lot of flooding, catastrophic, historic flooding indeed, with a lot of fatalities just from a group of thunderstorms, people. You didn't need a tropical storm or a tropical depression. That is why a tropical depression or a storm isn't little at all. It's a big deal. And that's why we watch these things. But overall, over the next couple of weeks, nice good ridge here, nice good trade winds blowing off of Africa, and that's going to keep things stable and nice. But please don't get used to it, all right? There are already signs that there's going to be a backloaded season for sure in the tropics. So when we look at the European model here, the 850 millibar chart, you can see, of course, there is a little bit of vorticity here, like we showed you on the GFS, but also is not indicating anything significant anytime soon. We're going all the way out through the next 360 hours. Other than that little disturbance here over the northeastern Gulf, that might be something to watch here on the Euro, but even the Euro is not too excited about that. So I don't think anything there is going to develop. I have very low to no confidence. Maybe a non-zero chance that something forms up over there, but it does not look significant at all at this given time. And then over here off the coast of Africa, at this time, there is that area of spin that comes off. That air came up again. I do not know. The current keyframe frequency is 5.2. Okay, I'm not going to worry about that at all. I'll just worry about that later. So that's what we're going to have to really watch closely for, is this little area of vorticity down the road, but it doesn't look anything significant for at this given time. Boy, it's hot in my office. Canadian model, similar output here, nothing to really monitor at all. Interesting though, the Canadian does have a little bit of something here twirling up in the next 7 days out there in the middle of the Atlantic, and it does a little loop-de-loo, and it could become something. But of course, there is no confidence in that, with it being stable down here in the background state, just being pretty much stable. So I'm not too concerned about the tropics in the short term, but as we go into the long term, I'll show you something else that rings a bell. So again, the reason why the background state is unfavorable is because of the drier air and the deep layer vertical wind shear you'll see here on the model. You can see the brown here indicating lots of dry air. I mean, look at this. This is pretty darn dry over the Eastern Caribbean and pretty darn dry down here, even in portions of the deep tropics. Like this is as far south as 5 to 10 degrees north in latitude. That is a very, very suppressive phase of the MJO or whatever MJO signal there actually is. And this is going to continue for a while. Like, look at all this dry air. Like, I mean, there is nothing about it that really rings a bell. That is concerning. Okay. And then, of course, out off of Africa here, it is very dry indeed. Like, there's just nothing. There's just nothing at all. And so that's going to stay with us for a while, at least through the 23rd and the 24th of July, because of all this drier air that is in place, and then all this deep layer moisture down to the south. I mean, your intertropical convergence zone is way down here. I mean, that is at least 10 degrees north in latitude, maybe a little further north than that, but wow, pretty dang suppressed. Now, looking at the European, as far as deep layer vertical wind shear goes, you can see the vertical wind shear is going to back off again. You can see where it's at right now. That shear is going to taper off in some degree over here, over parts of the deep tropics east of the Leeward and Windward Islands in the Caribbean. That deep layer vertical wind shear is just going to come right back on in. And you can see that vertical shear picking up. And it remains a huge problem all the way through the 23rd and the 24th of July. And look at this right here. That's at least 50 knots of deep layer vertical wind shear. So at least in the foreseeable future, through the 23rd or the 24th, things look pretty calm out here in the tropics, while over here the shear looks lighter than it should be. And we're going to have to monitor on how this changes once that favorable phase gets going, perhaps into early August. So now, excuse me here. So when we look at the 850 millibar zonal wind anomaly, let's put this into motion. You can see right here, all of this red and orange indicates that vertical wind shear, or that your trade wind. Sorry, I am so distracted with that warning that I'm getting. This orange and red, we are seeing trade winds that are weaker than average. So they're not blowing very strong out here like they were literally a week and a half to 2 weeks ago. We got this purple area, which indicates stronger than normal trade winds. And so this is basically where our intertropical convergence zone pretty much is, roughly at about 10 to 15 degrees north in latitude. But watch what happens here. You can see a little bit of a suppression of that. Right in here is where you have that intertropical convergence zone that is much further south. I mean, come on, this is like in latitude, this is further south than portions of the ABC Islands. And that is why we're not seeing much in the way of development. But the winds out here do remain lighter than average all the way through the 23rd and the 24th of July, which means our sea surface temperatures are going to continue to warm up. Now, looking at the GFS really quickly, this is a little bit awkward, but the trade winds out here are much stronger. And boy, are they kicking butt out here in the Pacific. Very, very strong trade wind anomalies being represented here on the GFS model due to a very, very active, hyperactive MJO signal developing out here in the Western and Central Pacific. And then we'll see a matter of time if that actually works its way into the Atlantic as we end out July into early August. Looking at the deep layer vertical wind shear anomalies, you can see here the red colors indicate stronger than normal deep layer vertical wind shear, and the blue colors indicate that the shear is lighter than average. So you can see over Africa, the shear is lighter than average, but all over here, it's all westerly wind shear anomalies that are stronger than average, which means until that goes away, I just don't see anything forming underneath the radar in that area. At least in the short term, this area though, in the next 5 to 7 days, that area is going to need to be watched for the possible of development. I mean, there's a very, very, very little minuscule chance it actually happens for the time being. All right, so now about that MJO, okay, this whole phase thing. This is a Hofmöller diagram from the European Ensemble forecast, and we can see the orange and red colors do indicate that we are seeing a suppressive phase out there in the Atlantic. That's exactly what we're seeing. And that is going to continue all the way through the 19th and the 20th. But look what happens. Things do relax a lot more here in the Atlantic as we go into the 23rd and the 24th. Now, this rising motion does not necessarily mean we will see development. It just means there's not as much sinking in the atmosphere. And this is basically a precondition. The atmosphere is slowly getting moist. So once this green patch right here moves over Africa and over India, we're going to start watching for development that takes place usually on the 27th and the 28th of July. That's at least based on what we're seeing right now. And this is even from the ensemble forecast showing us that. So again, lots of sinking motion through at least the 18th and 19th. We have another rising anomaly moving across much of the Caribbean into the Atlantic as we go into the latter part of July into early August. And so, and you'll see with how this makes sense. Once the MJO gets right about in here, so right in this box, okay, over the maritime continent, so over phases 1, 2, and 3, and 4 is the green light for the Atlantic. And it might seem like, but David, the rising motion is not over Africa, all right? You know, and I understand where you're coming from on that, but you'll see that there is a lag minting behind on this. So the more favorable conditions actually happen once the MJO gets more amplified and it gets into the Indian Ocean, okay? And then that's when we watch for these tropical waves that come off of Africa, if that makes sense. You have to think about this. This is velocity potential anomaly in the upper parts of the atmosphere, so you can think about it like this. Lots of easterly wind anomalies that take place right here in the upper parts of the atmosphere. So the air is actually converging right about in here, and then the air is actually diverging right here. So you get easterly wind anomalies that show up over Africa during this phase, and then the air usually converges right about in here, if that makes sense. And so that's why there's always a delay when this orange area, and you're probably wondering, but David, there's orange now, but we're not seeing any development. That is because we have a very incoherent MJO signal. We have no convective coupled Kelvin waves. In other words, this is potential anomaly, okay? This does not mean that there is rising motion. It just means the atmosphere is more unstable, in other words, okay? We could also see this on the University of North Carolina showing the same thing here. A nice good log of upward motion expected to move into portions of the Atlantic as we go into the 22nd and the 24th of July. But of course, this is going to change significantly in time. I know there's a little bit of sinking motion here, but rest assured, I think we're going to see a lot of activity pick up, especially once the MJO gets over here, or actually more so over here is where we're going to watch for that rising motion. So here's another look at that diagram here. And boy, this is actually off the charts. I mean, look at, it's literally the ensemble envelope is literally off the screen here. And I can zoom this out to show you. Yeah, look at, it's literally outside that box. So this gives us an idea that the MJO here is going to be quite active on the GFS, and this is the GEFS ensemble. So this is where we're at right now, this black dot. The MJO is going to likely go here, and it's going to kind of hang around for a while for the next probably 5 or 6 or even 7 days, and then there is early indication that that MJO is going to get very active. Here is the null phase. This is the unit of circle. Let me bring that up here. So here is the unit of circle, and I can even draw a good circle here. This is the neutral phase, and then this is going to be outside of the box in phases 5 and 6. Now, historically, this is not really an ideal position to get a lot of tropical cyclones in the Atlantic, especially when we are slowly amplifying things. So it's going to need to come around all the way for it to do something. And usually in phases 1, 2, 3, And even 4 perhaps historically gives us a lot of activity in the Atlantic. So this is going to have to swing all the way around into into West Africa and the Western Hemisphere and Africa, as well as into the Indian Ocean for us to see anything. Okay, so right now it's over here when it amplifies, but not to be surprising. We might have to watch for something towards the end of July because it's so amplified before it recircles all the way around. If it does, there are some early indications that this is going to probably stay pretty active once it gets out of its null phase, if that makes sense. Here's a look at the European model on the MJO phase diagram as well. It's less amplified all the way through the 17th and the 19th, which explains why the European is more dry biased in this sense. But it does something like this. It kind of goes out. It does get out of the null phase at least. It's not where it was. I mean, at one point, there was 0 MJO activity at one point. And it looks like here, some of the ensembles are pretty dang aggressive at showing a very amplified MJO signal into phases 5, 6, and 7 by the time we go into the latter part of July. So with that being said, this is what we look for, okay? And this is basically showing us what phases give us the most named storms. So let's let this load all the way through. So this is pretty much where we are headed right now. So historically, in a context, depending on how quick this amplifies, maybe things will change, but I don't see that happening right now. Historically, usually in late August is when this kind of matters a whole lot, usually mid to late August, in other words, or if you want to think about it, most of August, it can apply to. But usually in phases 5 and 6 right now, not quite favorable. It's going to have to come around one more time, but you can see in phases 4, 5, and 6, the red anomaly here usually indicates a very highly dense populated of tropical cyclones that have historically formed under an MJO phase like this. And so when you look at the Mercator projection here, you'll see, and this is a full map showing us from the central, and then not a full map, but he does his best. But you can see all of the velocity potential anomalies are actually over the Indian Ocean, over Indonesia, over Australia, over the Western Pacific. And yet, look at our activity here in the Atlantic. It actually picks up because there is a lag up to 2 weeks after this positive anomaly passes through. So you can think about it like this. It's not most favorable when the anomaly is actually over the Atlantic, but when it's away from the Atlantic and when we get a lot of this sinking motion, you have to kind of think of it like that. So as we go over the next couple of frames here, this is phase 7 mainly, and you can see things do decrease. Things are quite unfavorable over the Gulf, over the Caribbean. These negative anomalies indicate lesser than normal tropical activity. And that's what this looks like, this configuration. Sinking motion over Africa, that's pretty much what we're seeing right now. And that is why, well, there's not much activity. Okay, and all the rising motion is pretty much over the Western Pacific. Okay. And now let's put this into motion here, and you can still see here, even in phase 1, look at all that rising motion. It's over the Atlantic. It is over Africa. But wait, there is below average activity. This is not a sole thing that leads to anything, and it looks like my chat is dead. Can you guys hear me by any chance? You guys can, I'm making sure chat works because it's been silent for a while. So you can see all this upward motion over the Atlantic does not mean we get a lot of activity, a burst of activity. There's other variability that gets involved other than the MJO, convective coupled Kelvin waves. But in general, this is a configuration that does not actually lead to a lot of tropical genesis. Now, as we go into phase 2, things pick up. So even in phase 1 sometimes, but usually in phase 2. So right now, the MJO is forecast to be over here at the end of the period. It's going to need a swing towards the left into phase 1, 2, and 3 for us to at least get a slightly busy period coming up here in the Caribbean and the Gulf. And then phase 3, this is what it looks like, mainly favoring the Caribbean and the Western Gulf, maybe even some activity off of Africa. And then the cycle repeats itself. And usually in phase 4, 5, 3, 4, and 5 in general, historically, that's when things are usually very, very busy here in the Atlantic. So I'm going to roll through this completely as an animation, and so you guys can see how the green and brown areas propagate. And this is from Eric Webb, by the way. So you can see how things propagate. The MJO takes about up to 90 days to go from where it starts to where it ends. So kind of rotate around the entire deep tropics, okay? That's why we have bursts of activity and then we have inactive periods. Okay, so now to the sea surface temperatures. What is indeed favorable are sea surface temperatures. And they are really, really warm. So that is a guarantee. Everything is there. We're just waiting for the background state of the atmosphere to cooperate. Okay, things have to line up like a lasagna. You know, you have your layers. If you don't have the ingredients and you just have the noodles of lasagna, your lasagna is not going to taste good, right? Nobody's going to eat lasagna just with bare noodles. You're going to want the I think I forgot the cheese name. But yeah, I can't even think off the top of my head, but you get the idea. You need the ingredients to get things together. That's not the best analogy, but you get the idea. Very warm northern Gulf. This is crazy. I mean, if anything takes full advantage of the Gulf, it's going to be bad. And then, of course, over here in the Bay of Youth, this area has really warmed up over the recent week or so due to lighter trade winds. And then our sea surface temperature anomalies are back into the above average side over here in the Caribbean and across the central Gulf, really running far above normal for this time of the year. I'm a bit surprised, though, off the coast of Florida, things have not recovered quite yet. That likely due to the fact that we had some thunderstorm activity keeping things at bay. But wow, the Gulf is definitely open for business. It's just a matter of when the background state cooperates, and that's really a key driver in all of this. Another key driver in all of this is the sea surface temperature anomaly as a whole. I know a lot of you are like, dude, bro, there's a El Nino developing. There's an El Nino. And we'll get to that in just a second. Right here, you can see it as a whole. There is your weak warm tongue. But I could rest assure you, the trade winds are going to be picking up. They are going to be exceptionally strong out here in the Eastern and Central Pacific as this MJO amplifies. In fact, some models are projecting surface winds in the Eastern and Central Pacific on the order of 25 to 35 knots. That is pretty dang strong. And when you have that over a period of 2 to 3 weeks, as some of the models are projecting, this is going to really cool off. This is going to not look like this. I guarantee you by early August, all of these warm anomalies are going to go away. And we're going to have a little bit more blue out here. And that on top of a very, very, very strong negative signal here of our Pacific meridional mode. Say it with me, folks. The Pacific meridional mode. That's another way of saying that's kind of like the Iberian Peninsula, but in the Pacific side of things. And so you have this cold tongue of below average sea surface temperature anomalies coming from the north out across portions of Hawaii into the deep tropics here of the Central Pacific. And then we have a very weak indicator here too that we have the southern annular mode. Well, trying to look for the word. I looked it up and I got that wrong. Actually, it's the SPM, the Southern Pacific Meridional Mode. In other words, and that's kind of this, it's kind of the opposite of here, but also down here where it's below average. So if you look at this carefully, if you want to think about, okay, despite the warm ENSO look here, north and south, things are running below average as a whole here in the Eastern Pacific. So that means overall, there's going to be sinking motion. There's a lot of stability out here in the Eastern Pacific. But when you look at the Atlantic side of things overall, other than over here and maybe over here a little bit, the whole Atlantic is running above average than it should be for this time of the year. And including that, we have a little bit warmer than average Iberian Peninsula water here, and we'll see if that gets fed. With these lighter trade winds, this is definitely warming up pretty darn quickly, where we have sea surface temperature anomalies now in the main development region that are indeed favorable enough to give us a somewhat busy season. But there is definitely some mixed signals here that would otherwise allow me to go higher in my predictions. But we definitely have a signal there that does indeed beg the question that this season is going to be indeed a slightly busier one. When we look at the sea surface temperature trend over the last 7 days, these yellows and orange and red colors down here indicate that sea surface temperatures have warmed up over the last week. So we have resumed that warming, including the Caribbean and the Gulf. Very, very warm sea surface temperature warmth has taken place here in the central portion of the Atlantic, with slightly warming neutral change here off the Iberian Peninsula, with cooler trends happening there with the blue. And that's not very substantial, but enough. You can see some of the medium blue here, about a degree cooler than it was a week ago. So there has been a slight amount of cooling that has taken place up here, likely due to the enhanced belt of trade winds up here in this area, not really getting down here. Otherwise, would cool it off. Now, over here, there has not really been much change with the sea surface temperatures warming or cooling off the Eastern Pacific or off of Peru, which tells us, well, there's no El Nino coming anytime soon. And I could even back that up here by looking at this animation. So let's load that back up. So this gives us an idea what is happening below the surface of the ocean in the Eastern Pacific, because this is the main driver behind why this season is expected to be slightly above average. We can see here below the surface of the ocean, so this is the subsurface. These orange indicates above average sea surface temperature anomalies deeper down in depth. And then the blue colors indicate cooler than normal anomalies. So we can see here that there has been some warming, but look what is right here. Watch this. Right about in here. See this blue area? This is kind of growing. All it's going to take is some nice good trade winds up here to blow, and this is all going to make its way to the surface. And what you end up seeing is some below average sea surface temperature anomalies, and it's still kind of neutral out there right now. But once those trade winds get going, rest assured you, things are going to change once those trades get moving. All right. So here is my seasonal predictions. And some of you may not agree with my forecast, and I will ask you guys that question here once this actually loads. And actually, I'm going to ask you that question, okay, right here. So this is my latest forecast here. Let's go to let's plot this out. So right now, name storms. So I predict, this is in my personal opinion, I predict 10 to 15 name storms. That includes Andrea, that includes Barry, that includes Chantal, however you want to say it. Okay. So I'm predicting 7 to 12 name storms. Okay, so I'm keeping my prediction the same though, otherwise. All right, Colorado State University released their new forecast, and wow, did they up that? I think they literally did up it. Huh. Oh, wait, hold on. So 17. Let me actually make this mouse a little smaller so it hasn't. Okay, so they have actually backed off on one named storm. So they're predicting 16 named storms right now as of this forecast. Let's see, hurricanes. So 16 named storms. 8 hurricanes. So yeah, so they lowered their forecast. They actually lowered their forecast. And major hurricanes, three major hurricanes, that is lower from the last update. So they did drop their forecast by one storm each. So one less storm, one less hurricane, one less major hurricane, which is good news, but it doesn't always mean that the ACE points are going to be below average. And when we look at our ACE points here, I'm still predicting up to 191 with 140 ACE points predicted from Colorado State University, according to that. And I am using the July-August forecast. So this is the latest models that are in right now. So what are your guys' thoughts? How do you all like my predictions? So I predict 10 to 15 named storms total this year. That includes the 3 that we have. And I predict 3 to 7 hurricanes or 4 to 7 hurricanes. So that came up just one from the last update from last month. And I predict 1 to 3 major hurricanes. So I want to hear your guys' opinion. Am I too conservative? Am I too bullish? What are your guys' thoughts? I want to hear your guys' feedback on that. Please, please, please. There's 110 of you guys watching, so I'm sure I'll get a lot of responses. So and this is all of the forecasts included. So wait, I'm predicting too many named storms. I'm actually one of the most conservative out there. The European 10 to 19 named storms. The UK Met Office is predicting 9 to 23 named storms, and I'm predicting 10 to 15 named storms. All right. So no one has their opinion, I guess, on my forecast. Again, if you guys did not hear that, what do you guys do? What are your thoughts? Do you guys like my latest predictions? And this is, you could find this actually on this website. That is my predictions right there. Yeah, I'm the most conservative. I'm literally predicting a at least normal season at this given point. The average is 13 is my mean prediction. So that is literally like barely like it's, I think it's pretty reasonable. Thank you so much. I do appreciate that. There's a mixed signal in sea surface temperature configuration. The MJO is really stuck where it's at. We're going to see if that actually, what models are predicting is if that MJO kind of gets yanked out of its null phase. And we'll see if August ends up being quite busy with named storms, and we can probably predict it a little higher. But at this point, I'm not going any higher with my prediction. For me, 17 to 21 named storms, Drelm Balcher. Okay. Thank you so much, Jacob. Hey, it's better than being really bullish. Like, look at this. Look at this forecast here. 268 weather or WX is predicting up to 25 named storms. That is ridiculous, dude. I don't think we're getting 25 named storms. Sorry, pal. Not going to happen. But yeah, this is what I am predicting right here. If you go to the website, you can highlight over my name and you can see 10 to 15 named storms and major hurricanes. I am literally the lowest. 1 to 3 major hurricanes on the prediction. But look at the UK Met. Big wide range there with major hurricane ranges, but I'm not far behind from the other. Like, look at Weather Bell is predicting 2 to 3 major hurricanes. I'm predicting 1 to 3 major hurricanes. So I'm really, really conservative with my forecast. Just because, again, the mixed phase signal, the mixed variability that we have in the tropics right now. I'm surprised Wikipedia has not woken up and they have not updated this yet. By the way, the tropical cyclone risk updated their forecast yesterday. They're predicting 50 named storms. So that is 1 down from the previous forecast in May. So you can see clearly they're not 15 named storms is reasonable. It is very reasonable. So not really bullish in the numbers this year. Really not. Any questions, anybody? I'll tell you, though, it is going to be downright hot in my area the next several days. It is going to be terrible over here where I live in Arizona. It is just going to be stifling. You can see the forecast here on the NAM. Look at this valley here between 100 and more likely, though, more in the range of about 105, 106 degrees is what I'm going with for my area with temperatures. So it is going to be pretty unbearable, pretty unbearable. I could already feel it tonight. What's up, Lazarus? Thank you for the $5 donation. I do appreciate that. I am supposed to sail from Fort Lauderdale, headed to Galveston, starting the 14th and through hopefully the 24th. How is the weather looking in the Gulf? So the 14th, let's go to that. So you said the 14th, right? So let's go back. Fort Lauderdale. So right now, afternoon thunderstorms is what I'm predicting. Cloud buildup. I cannot give an exact area that is going to get thunderstorms because, you know, these things could pop out of, you know how Floridian weather is. But there will be some pop-up showers and thunderstorms each afternoon, kind of like what you've been seeing. If we actually look at satellite, open this up. So kind of like this, where we have these pop-up storms, kind of scattered to isolated in nature. Man, look at, there is no wind here in the Central Gulf. Look at how light the winds are down here. I just wanted to show you all this because I literally got my attention. No wind at all in the Gulf. Can you guys see that? Like, man, those clouds are not even moving right here. And that means water temperatures are really going to warm up there. And that is a big problem. That is a big problem. What is it calling for Death Valley? Well, let's go to windy.com for that answer, because I'm sure Death Valley is going to be pretty dang stifling. Right now in Death Valley, it's about 110 still. And you know what the overnight low is going to be? About 93 in some areas, 97 degrees by the morning. I mean, look at this. 97, the warmest spot is 97, 98 degrees. And look at this. It's already 104 degrees in one area by 8 in the morning. And then this is the daytime high tomorrow, 119, got a 118. So it is going to be terrible. Man, don't go to Death Valley, please. It is going to be downright dangerous. Yeah, here's 121 degrees in Furnace Creek. You can see the Central Valley here, 108 in Fresno on Friday. So, yeah, this is actually can be verifiable. Look at 110 degrees in Redding, Chico 110, Sacramento 107, 108 degrees. Man, that is brutal, brutal heat. I'm going to be building in. And man, we were doing so good without seeing triple-digit temperatures this far in summertime. I mean, we did hit 100 exactly for like maybe 5 or 10 minutes at the very end of May. Ever since then, we have not had temperatures at 100 degrees. So I'm kind of upset that, man, the pattern is going to be breaking the lack of triple-digit temperatures. We were doing so well. I'm telling you, we were doing so good. Go to the beach, it'll probably be 70 degrees on the coast. More than likely, it will be. Let's see how warm it's going to be tomorrow along the coast. Let's see. Yeah, look at this. 56 degrees in San Francisco tomorrow. Look at the eastern side of San Francisco. Going to be quite chilly tomorrow. 55 degrees, 53 degrees, 52 in one area. And then look at this. Because of how thin the marine layer actually is, look at this little microclimate aspect. 56 in Half Moon Bay, got 90-degree temperatures in Burlingame, San Mateo, Redwood City, 94 degrees. You don't have to go very far inland. I mean, look at San Jose, almost in the 90s. Morgan Hill, 96 degrees. And then look at King City, 100 degrees tomorrow. San Miguel, 98 degrees. So that is one heck of a microclimate right there. SoCal beach is 70 degrees. Let's see. So Southern California, I would say mid to upper 60s at least. Warmest spots, maybe borderlining 70 degrees. It depends on the marine layer, the fog, low cloud cover. If that burns off, then it's probably going to be a lot warmer for sure at the beaches. But yeah, the marine layer is going to be awfully thin, and we can see this on the Fort Ord profiler. Look how thin the marine layer is. So I don't show this because, of course, this is an international channel, but I wanted to show you our microclimate. So look how deep the marine layer was about 24 hours ago. We were at 3,000 feet with the marine layer, and look at how it just gets compressed. Now it's roughly at around about 1,100 feet. It's down here roughly right now. So that is very thin marine layer. And look at the temperatures aloft, 25 degrees Celsius. So we are definitely seeing a compression of the marine layer out of the Fort Ord profiler. And you could even find this by going to the link here. I always like providing all these links. So you can clearly see, as forecaster here, I'm not a meteorologist, but I'm trying to become one here down the road, is us as meteorologists or weather enthusiasts, we use the marine layer to decode on how warm it's going to be inland, because a thin marine layer like this, the fog is not able to penetrate inland. So if we go back here, This is the marine layer moving in. So you can see even some fog this morning moving into the Sacramento County area through Fairfield. That's a good pattern, good summer pattern to get the marine layer in to cool off the valley nicely. Look what happens. This is very thin marine layer. There is no penetration of that fog at all tonight. So even so there's an onshore breeze, that air is being mixed. It's just very warm. It's not very cold at all. AKA, yep, and upwelling. Yeah, there is some upwelling due to that northerly wind that's coming down the coast. And this is actually pretty dang strong here. So there's going to be a lot of upwelling eventually. Like, look at this. This is 45-mile-an-hour winds here along the coast. Very strong wind. And so there will be upwelling. The continuation of that upwelling. And when we look at our sea surface temperatures, talk about chilly sea surface temperatures, 48 degrees off the coast here of Petrolia. And then Point Arena, 48 degrees. Man, these are some nice, good sea surface temperatures here. This is really good news because this helps keep our fog cool. And then look at here, 47 degrees. Even in Southern California, look at this, 48 to 49 degrees in Fahrenheit. And then right down here at 71, 72, which is actually slightly below average for this time of the year. So definitely some upwelling of much cooler sea surface temperatures along our coast, all thanks to that north wind that helps to upwell. Thank you so much. Yeah, I love windy.com. It's a really good tool to use. And actually, if we go forward, you can see that flow continuing with that northerly. It breaks down a little bit, it looks like, eventually. But that's the dominant feature. So with that northerly flow through at least Saturday, though, there will be some upwelling. And then maybe a southerly surge coming up the coast, maybe hopefully on Sunday. That would hopefully help to deepen the marine layer enough to allow that penetration so we actually do kind of curb our heat wave. I went to LA in January. Once it was 95 degrees in midsummer, once was 70 with marine layer. Oh yeah, the Los Angeles metro area can see a wild swing of temperatures. When will the monsoon season start? I'm tired of the heat. So I'm guessing you're in Arizona, right, Brady? 111? You're in Arizona, correct? Well, let's talk a little bit about local weather for the United States in that sense. I know we're here to talk about the tropics. So you do have a little bit of a monsoonal pattern that is in place, but very restricted so far. We have a really big fire burning here and some fires around. But yeah, there is definitely a lack of monsoon. It's there. It's just not very, very juicy yet. Once the MJO gets in a more conducive in a more configuration, the desert Southwest monsoon should hopefully get going here in the next 2 to 3 weeks. That's again assuming everything goes right, but we haven't really had a very active monsoonal season this year. This has just been a lackluster one. It does look like, though, perhaps right about in here, maybe something by latter part of July, the monsoon should start picking up. Oh, you're in Idaho. Oh, wow, you're very close to where you're not very far, bud. You're like northeast of me, near local. So yeah, it looks like you're not going to get the monsoon at all then. No, I just don't think it's going to happen. Let's look at the deep layer moisture plot over that area. Maybe something here. There is definitely some more juicy atmosphere in the deep layers. And then it gets very dry again. And maybe something here, but this is more kind of shield. A little more of a shield-like shape. So it looks like, therefore, it doesn't look like the monsoon's really going to be around for your area, unfortunately, for a while. Let's look at the the rainfall forecast. Yeah, pretty dry, pretty dry. You and me both, unfortunately. So I know you wish for the rainfall, but it doesn't look like it's going to be building in. I know a lot of you are tired of the heat. It's summertime. It is summertime. And that's what happens. David, talk about the 2026 hurricane season. No, that's too far out. Okay, we're just getting started with the 2025 hurricane season. So next year we'll talk about that. Because our climate models don't even go that far. No one, California doesn't get rain in the summer. If you're in the mountains of the Sierra, like the higher elevations, like Lake Tahoe, Bear Valley, if you are in, say, Mariposa, those higher elevations, the Tehachapi's down there east of Fresno, near Bakersfield, that area, and even across Lassen Peak area, you can get some showers and thunderstorms for sure. Even if it's a little, even if the monsoon is weak, you can get some afternoon cloud buildups. Let's talk about the tropics for August, September, and October. I just I went pretty much through that, Joker. I do not see much in the way of tropical activity through at least early August. Now, as we go into the latter part of August and September, I do believe things are going to wake up in the tropics for sure. I do see activity increasing. It's climatology driven. And I think a backloaded season is expected. So I think definitely activity in September and October is definitely a get-go, maybe even into the early and middle part of November as well. Why so much Saharan dust? Well, we said this too back in 2020. We had a lot of Saharan dust. And this is climatology. It really, really is. And this is the time of the year that dust usually is. And it's because of the suppressive phase. The air is dry over Africa. And with that, actually, let's go over to Weather Bell, because I did want to show you something that kind of speaks for itself there. So let's go to Africa. So there's good old Africa. I'll tell you, I would not want to live up here in Mali where it is very, very hot. Look at those temperatures, 49 degrees Celsius. That is ridiculous. That's like 120, 125 degrees in Fahrenheit. That is just smithereens hot. And so here's a look at the dust forecast. And actually, you know what? The dust is actually not all that bad. There's a little bit of a plume going through right now. And here comes another plume of dust that's going to be resurging. But overall, the dust hasn't been as bad as it can be. It's just the air is dry. And here's a fun fact. You can have a really dry atmosphere without dust coming off of Africa. I hope you guys know that. I'm sure you guys do. Dust is one variable, okay? Dust tells us that that's air that's coming off of Africa, off of the Saharan desert, and it's typically exceptionally dry, warm, and stable. So we can refer to that as, okay, there is the leading edge of another pocket of dry air coming off of Africa. So that is what is going to be taking place here. So yeah, still the Saharan dust, but please understand this, that in September last year, In early September, in other words, we did not have a whole lot of Saharan dust, but yet we didn't see any activity in the tropics coming off of Africa. It's not just the dust we focus on. It's the background state, all right? It's the deep layer vertical wind shear. It is the stability in the atmosphere and the troposphere, right? Things have to line up. Dust is just one in many factors, okay? I think the dust is playing a small role in this, and as the intertropical convergence zone goes a little further north, the dust with it will go north, right? But if the intertropical convergence zone just goes too far north, then that might play a negative role in a otherwise busier season, if that makes perfect sense. So you can see here, you're going to like this, people. You are going to like this really quickly. This is actually where our intertropical convergence zone mainly is, down here. I know the dew point shows a lot, but it's mainly down here because of the suppressive phase. So it's definitely further south than it should be. And you can see as this loops, you can see how the surface heating dries the atmosphere. So you can see right here how this plays through. You can see how it is the MJO and the Atlantic Oscillation the background stuff. Yes, it is, Jacob. Convective coupled Kelvin wave activity also drives the pattern as well. The Indian Ocean dipole too. I rest assure you guys, the season where we are going to see more named storms, okay? It's just not going to be the season that people are hoping for, and we don't want to hope for 30 named storms. And I've said this many times, okay, in my discussions, okay? And I want to repeat myself on this one, okay? Number of named storms, it does not matter how many named storms we get, okay? What matters is what? I want to see if you guys can guess this. I want to see if you guys can get this correctly. What's more important when tracking the tropics, the ACE score or the number of named storms? When will the tropical waves get stronger? More than likely by early August. Impacts are very important. That's a good one. Good. I'm glad you brought that up. Impacts are exceptionally important. Winds are an impact. Flooding is an impact. Storm surge is an impact. ACE. God. Good job. The ACE score is very important. Okay. The number of named storms doesn't matter a whole lot. Look at Beryl. Think about how much ACE points Beryl produced last year. That was only one named storm. One named storm. And yet, that thing produced about half of the ACE for the season. You got to think of that. Like, wow, dude, that is incredible. You know, ACE is the quality of the season, not the number of named storms. So we may only have up to 15 or 16 named storms, but will those 15 and 16 named storms be long track? Will they be huge ACE producers? That is going to be that's going to be the question that everybody's asking. Okay. And secondly, ACE is driven by how long and how intense a hurricane is. So let's just pretend, let's just have some fun here. And let me get my sea surface temperature map here. So actually, hold on. Let's see if this is going to work. Hold on. All right, I don't know if you guys can see the state, the countries very well here. Let me actually see. I guess this is going to have to do. This shows up a little bit better. So, all right. So basically, let's just pretend. Let's just kind of have some fun here. Actually, you know what? Let's do this. I got a better idea. This is what we're going to do. So we're going to use this, okay? So if you get... So we're going to change our high pressures around a little bit. So we're going to do this. Okay. So if we play this through, if you get a long tracked hurricane that does this, see how intense this thing is? And if it lasts forever, okay, that's going to produce a lot more ACE. Actually, that's probably, oh wait, hold on. What's our sea surface temperature? Okay, fall is the warmest it gets. Okay. So let's use this right here. And let's play that through again. So you can see our tropical system here slowly developing. That's kind of a better example. It's going to produce a lot of ACE. Okay. Instead of a system, let's restart that again. Okay. Instead of a system with your high pressures going like this, the system is going to be short-lived and it's just going to remain a tropical storm, right? That's not going to produce a lot of ACE versus something that is a lot longer lived. Okay. So like, let's play this through again. Let's see if we can get an intense hurricane to give you a better example. And that's like a longer lived system. Yeah, Cat 4 in Virginia. Here's a lot of weakening. Here's a very weak steering pattern right here that we have. Place. One more will run. And you can see right here, this is a long tracked hurricane. This is pretty far south though, but you get the idea. Okay, when it stays at Cat 4, Cat 5 for long periods of time, that's how you are going to get higher ACE, you know? If a system is short-lived and it's Cat 5, it's not really going to be a huge ACE producer. Milton wasn't really a big ACE. Well, Milton was because, you know, it spent at least a few days over the Gulf. That kind of helped a little bit, but not like a Cat 5 barrel where it was like a major hurricane for like 7 or 8 days, you know? Show me the hurricane. You can go to hurricane model, and then it's like right here. This is the website you can go and visit. And you can play around with all of these things. You can make a low pressure very strong. So like, here's another one. Let's see what this one does. See, this is a long tracker right here. That was, look at that track, you all. Look how that played out. Look how that played out. Isn't that incredible? Sorry. Let me play that again so you guys can see. So we're going to run the low again. Run the simulation. This is what the system is doing. Just going to play that. Let's see what this one does. Wow, got it to category 1. Let's do that one more time. But you get the idea. You really do. Make another crazy system. Let's see if we can get things even crazier up here. Let's bring our high a lot stronger. Guess my high. No, my high was too strong. I guess it was too strong. I like to bring systems right into Venezuela. See what this one does. Why always in Venezuela? Why do I always aim the hurricanes over there? That I'm crazy. Okay, I'm too crazy on this one. There we go. That was a bit better, but wasn't what I was hoping for. That was a short-lived. Oh my gosh, that was not the one that I was hoping for. What's up, dopey, 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 dopey? Pull the low further south. Okay, I'll take your guys's. So pull the low further south over Florida. See. Perfect. There we go. Category 4. Category 4 hurricane right there. Got it to category 3. Can you get one in the Gulf? Let's see. So let's see if we can get one in the Gulf. That's going to be a challenge. Should get into the Gulf. Let's see. Let's see. Oh, I did. And it became a Cat 5. Look at that. It became a Cat 5. Wow. I got that one. Scares you a little bit? I'm sorry it scares you. Let's move the low around a little bit and let's see what we can get. Make the high a little weaker. Man, the strength of that high really plays a big role in everything. And then let's do this again. Have that low over there, and let's see if we can get something in the... There we go. Play this again. Dang, I am surprised it didn't strengthen. You want to see another hurricane simulator that you guys will laugh at? See if I can find it. You guys will... See if it's this one. Nope, it's not. Where did it go? Oh, wait. I think it's her. Oh, here it is. New basin. This is going to be fun because this is actually where we let's do the current year. Type Atlantic, simulation normal, hyper, God mode enabled, advanced, hemisphere northern, San Francisco, hurricane flavor, hurricane typhoons, hurricane designations. So this is going to be a lot more funner. And I'll show you why. Watch what happens. Just wait. We're in January 19th. Fast forward. To now. And then we could actually add in... You can look at sea surface temperatures, and then we could actually look at how many hurricanes we've actually had. You can view the timeline as well, so you can see how many hurricanes we have seen so far. Look at this. Look at that. Talk about a hyperactive season. Oh, we have 80L that is formed. Yeah, this would be really bad. I don't think it would be very pleasant. Now there's another future. Hyper. Hold on. Advanced designations: Atlantic, hurricane, typhoon, cyclone. Extended San Francisco. Okay, that's what we want. Northern. Go back. Hyper, advanced. This is going to be crazier. We can get category 12s in this simulator. Okay, so let me fast forward this. Extended category. Look at Humberto. Category 6, category 7. Look at this. And then look at, you click on the system, you can see where it's going to be headed. Look at the cone. You can see the cone of uncertainty. And if you click on a system, you could see the pressure as well. Look at this. Got an 840 millibar system. Look at Karen, 834 millibars, 250 knots. There's Lorenzo. Look at this. Look at the pressure. 835 millibars. And you can see the track. Spawn another system. Oh my gosh. 834. Look at 833 millibars Aluga. 830, 829. Look at this, dude. Man, talk about a system. We're going to get a backloaded season. I'm going to create a backloaded season, you guys. Are you guys ready for this? Are you guys ready for a backloaded season? Are you all ready for a backloaded season? By the way, this is the website you can go visit to simulate your own storms. I got one as low. Let's see. This is 867. This is 837. Tanya, I did not know how strong Tanya got. There we go, 830. Sea surface temperatures, though, have to be conducive, though. Warm enough. If we get something way down here, let's see what that one does. Okay, it's September 16th. Here we go. Hyperactive season on the way. Bleeze is over here. Bleeze is going to get hit directly with Cat 5 hurricane. Look at Cat 6. Man, that thing exploded. Look at all of the systems. Oh my gosh. Talk about a hyperactive season. Look at all of the systems. Oh my gosh. No more islands. Yeah, I think everybody's dead at this point. $102 systems. What is this simulator? This is off of GitHub. I sent the link. Let me actually pin it to the chat. You can go click on that and check it out. You can literally make your very own hurricane simulator. So now we're in November 13th. So sea surface temperatures are pretty much done. And you could see the pressure. I was able to figure that out easily to plot that out. One more named storm. And so you can tell if we look at our moisture, enough moisture there. That's pretty much the end of the season right there. So we can see how it performed. Look at all the named storms. Look at how active the season was. Literally, folks, look at how busy that season was. We had 107 named storms, 102 hurricanes, 98 major hurricanes, category 8 plus 0, category 5 plus 92, hypercanes 0, total ACE 12,472. Imagining your ACE score being 12,000, that is incredible. And the strongest, most intense was Olga, being 245 knots, 829 millibar system. Look at how many deaths that would have resulted. 2,789,217. I mean, that was a bad season. That was a very bad season. Okay, let's forward it now to the next season. All right, here we go. There's Bertha. This is going to be a very backloaded season again, so I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to let it do it on its own. Oh, we had a Category 7 Bertha. Oh, it looks like it's strengthening again. Will Bertha become a 7 again? Looks like it is, and it did. Bertha was a very strong barrel-ish like system. I cannot do a Cat 12. It depends on the simulator. I can't control what the simulator does. I wish I can, but I can't. So far, our season has performed as it should. And look at even a hyperactive season. Look at how many named storms. We only have had 4 named storms as far as July 1st goes. Oh, here comes our next named storm. Yep, 5 named storms. Cristobal forms. That's going to probably be another, yep, it's going to be another hyperactive system. We're already up to 60,000 deaths already. I mean, look at July 13th, we have had only 5 named storms. So even that, this is not a very busy season so far. Even into the 18th of July, a very normal season. But look at our ACE score. Very high because we have had more major hurricanes. Oh, it looks like we have 2 more that have formed. Edward and Dolly form. Gosh, one is... Geez, got 2 more that formed. There's Isaias. Let's see. Oh, they're going to binary interact. Are they? They're probably too close. They're going to fight for their life. They're going to fight, fight, fight. Let's see. Man, oh, Isaias almost became a hypercane. Unbelievable. Yet no Cat 8 hurricane yet. Look at this. Look at our, we have had 17 named storms. Look at our total ACE. 2,000 ACE score. $37 Celsius. Holy cow. Oh my gosh, Renee. 251 knot winds on that sucker. There's Omar hitting Florida directly. Oh, no. Omar's avoiding Florida. Yep, 825 knots. Come on, Vicky. Can you get stronger? Yeah, there. Look at this. Category 8. Category 8. We just hit category 8 on Vicky. Briefly, category 8 on Vicky right here. 255 knots on Vicky. 255 knots with a pressure of 824 millibars. That is the strongest hurricane I have gotten in this simulator. Holy freaking moly. Oh gosh, poor Puerto Rico. Look at all the category 7s. Oh my God. Oh, this is crazy. Jamaica getting hammered. Yep. I want to hear your guys' thoughts. What would you do if a hurricane season was this active? How would you all react? I want to hear it. I want to hear it from you guys. How would you all react if a hurricane season was this active? Can you imagine reading a Cat 8 hurricane? Oh my gosh. No one would survive a Cat 8 hurricane. No one would dare. Oh yeah, I would pack up and move to the Midwest. I think a lot of people would be very scared. I certainly would. I would not want to have something like that. And that wraps up the season. Do you guys want to see one more season? Say yes or no in the chat, because this will be the grand finale. And then I think I've only been live for, well, a little over about an hour and almost 2 hours. Okay. Yes. Everybody says yes. We are going to make the most hyperactive season. Are you guys ready for the worst hyperactive season possible? Because it is going to be insane. You do not know what a hyperactive season looks like. And it's going to be very backloaded as well. It is going to be extremely backloaded. Okay, so we're going to start here. As you know, we have had one named storm so far and a total ace. That is pretty typical, but that's not going to last. We got Bill. Bill has formed. Okay. Are you guys ready for a hyperactive season? Here we go. Very backloaded. It's going to be very backloaded. Man, we're already up to 5 named storms. That's more active than the last season. 7 named storms? Are you serious? Already 7 named storms, and our total ace is already up there. We already had our first Cat 5 hurricane, 3 Category 5 hurricanes so far. Oh, we're doing it again. Boy, Grace is pretty intense. Okay, we're in July 4th. July 4th it is. Nice and calm. Now, for right now at least. Are you all ready? Hyperactive season warning issued. Once the pattern gets established, we are going to get a tremendous amount of named storms. This is going to be the worst season possible. The worst season possible. 9 named storms so far, 10. We're up to 10 named storms, but that's going to be a distant memory. All right, I think it's time. Are you all ready? We're going to open the gates. Boom, 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 boom. Oh my gosh, we're already up to 61 named storms. Yes, I am doing Mindy Weeks. It's a mega hurricane simulator. I'm literally hyperactive over here. Look at all the hurricanes. We're already up to 110 named storms. Holy, this is bad. This is a very bad season. 180 named storms so far. 183 named storms. 185 named storms. 192 named storms. Holy macaroni. Look at this. 200. I mean, we used up the name long time ago. We're at 263 named storms. Or 200, well, if you want to name it. Grand finale. Here we go. Grand finale. You guys want to know how many named storms we have had so far? We have had 372 named storms. 372 named storms. $376 named storms. Look at this. The season's still busy. It's pretty much gone now. It's dead. Dead season. Okay, we ended up with 418 named storms, 414 named storms, 367 hurricanes, 317 hurricanes, category 5 plus, 273, and hypercanes. This makes the ACE score. You guys want to guess how high that is? 33,000 ACE points. 33,000 ACE points and a total of about $263 billion or trillion dollars in damage. $263 trillion in damage. And we have had 44,181,190 people dead. Or 4.5 million. Yeah, sorry. 4.5 million deaths. Yeah. That was a busy season. Look, it's still cranking up storms too, still. Of course, the 2028 hurricane season is not even alive. No. Ha ha ha. No. No. I think since records began back in the early 1900s, we have yet to have over like 400 or 500 named storms between then and now, putting all the seasons together. All right. Well, any questions anybody you guys might have? Any questions? Also, I wanted to show you one more thing, and then I'm going to wrap this up. I promise. So we're going to actually go over to here. And I wanted to show you there's been some updates with the weather simulator. And I think you will like this very much. You could import real world soundings. So let me actually pick a sounding. So today's July 9th. And so I'm going to pick a sounding. This is, by the way, in the UK. Okay, I want to find something that is really unstable. A nice, good sounding. Oh, because we need to get to 0Z, that's why. So we'll go to yesterday. How about that? We'll go to yesterday. Pick a good sounding. Sounding not available. Why are we not available with soundings? What the heck? All right, we'll just do we'll just do a sounding like this, okay? So I create my simulation. Yeah, you could literally import soundings, but it's only for the UK for right now. He's trying to add in locations for the United States to add in. So this is what your traditional sounding is going to look like when starting the simulator. So it's going to be very boring. It's not going to look very active. It's going to be like, what? But wait, how do you get the sounding to look like that? Well, there's a little button up here, sound forcing. So watch what happens. Watch what happens to the whole thing. Okay. Watch this. Watch what ends up happening. This is what the sounding looks like right here. So that's what your atmosphere looks like on the sounding out of that location. You can look at temperatures. So you can see what the temperatures look like. You can see what the winds are. And you can just check out different parameters. And I think you could even do, let's try this, see what that does. Okay, yeah, that's not going to do much. So it locks in the sounding. So now you're probably wondering, but dude, how do I get it to where the sound to remove that? I want my own weather pattern. Well, all you have to do is do this, and then it reverts it back. It'll take a while, but it'll revert it back to normal. The winds won't change, but it will slowly mix out that old sounding over time. And guess what? Can you guys hear that? Can you guys hear that? The birds chirping, the wind and stuff. That's a new feature. That is a new feature that he introduced. So you can create thunderstorms that actually have pretty cool, isn't it? Cool stuff, I'll tell you that. And then another cool feature to this is, let me reset the whole sounding forcing. So what we can do too is add lakes, of course. Let's do that. So now our lake is a little too warm, but that's fine because look at our atmosphere. As we cool down the temperatures, there's colder air that comes in. Our waters, so our water cools down. It actually cools down based on incoming solar radiation, the winds affect on how the water warms and cools over time. And so let's turn it to daytime again. So we can see our water temperature is cooling off, but because it's shallow, the water warms up quick. So we get a quick warming of the water. And you can see it here on the sounding. You could even plot a weather station over that area, and then it'll show you the temperature. And then, let's see, let's click on this, and you can see, take this off, you can see how our water has warmed over time. And look at the clouds come in, the oceans cool off. And then when the sun comes out again, it should, let's see, got a lot of cloud cover right now. So that's one of the reasons why. And see our ocean warm up. See our oceans are warming up. See this? Until clouds come in, watch the clouds. It's raining hard. Look at our waters cool down. See this? And then when the sun comes out, waters warm back up again. Will this work on the phone? I have not tried it on a phone before. If it does, it will kill your battery very quickly. It's going to drain your battery within a couple of hours. It will take your phone's CPU power a lot. So it's probably not recommended that you run it on a phone, because it will literally drain the battery very quickly. Any questions about this? You can check this out, by the way, by going to Neil's 747 github.io/2D weather simulator. And you can simulate all kinds of weather patterns: cold fronts, warm fronts, tropical waves, the MJO, Madden-Julian oscillation. You can do all sorts of stuff on here. Pretty cool stuff though, huh? You guys are probably trying to run it now because all of a sudden chat got really quiet. It's free on Jerome Belcher. It is completely free. There is no cost whatsoever. All you have to do is click on the website that I put into the chat just now, right here above where you typed. Click on it and it will take you there. Now it is very, very computer intensive. So if you don't have a very good computer, like a good processor, a good graphics card, well, it will be disappointing that you can't run it very effectively because it is very, very CPU intensive. All right. Any questions, anybody? Any questions? I'll tell you though, on my end of things, I'm a bit nervous to go to the eye doctor tomorrow. Who has been to the eye doctor within the last year? That's a question I could ask you guys. Go live on Saturday. That's probably when I'll go live next around Belcher. I'll probably go live on Saturday again because I'm not doing anything on Saturday, actually. You love going to the eye doctor? I don't, because this is me personally. I don't have it. I know I don't have it, but I have that fear that I have glaucoma. And they have to do the eye pressure test, the visual field test. I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this. And it's 2 separate appointments, which is like inconvenient. I would just like to get it done and over with. Like, I went already in late May to that's why I have glasses. So I can wear my glasses if I wanted to. I don't like the light in my eyes. Well, no one does. No one likes having the light shined in their eyes, believe me. That's everyone, not just you. But we have to do it, you know? So I don't think many people here have been to the eye doctor in the last year or the last 2 years. If you have, or let me ask you guys this question, then I'll end it. Do any of you guys have glaucoma at all? Because that's my fear. I don't have it. I know I don't have it, but you know, when doing these other tests, you don't know. The anticipation. After a certain age, I'm 29, so I should be fine. I don't explain it. Duran Belcher, I don't. But that's what's happening tomorrow morning. Gotta go and have those two, either one or two of those tests done. If I only have one test done, then I'll have to go back for next week to have either the visual field test or the air puff test. It's going to be an air puff test. Will the hurricane season for 2026 or for 2027 or 2026 and 2027 be more active than this year? I don't know. That is like, I don't know if it's going to be more active. I don't. Because it's very far out. I mean, that is, you're looking a year to 2 years out, my guy. All right. I think I'm going to end it. I think that's going to do it for this live stream. That was a simulator, by the way. Aaron, tough. That was a simulation. That was not an actual hurricane season. Boy, if it ends up being that bad. All right. I will not do any more YouTube because I'll be overwhelmed. No, I'm just kidding. All right. See you guys. I think that's going to do it. Thanks for watching. I will be back with you more tomorrow. Now, if something doesn't go right at the eye doctor, then I might not have a video because, you know, that once I freak out over something, hard for me to restabilize. So we'll see how it goes tomorrow, and that will depend on me doing a video tomorrow. If not, I will be back on Friday and Saturday. Peace out, folks.